So there's a certain bitter irony in those that have taken part in falsely taking down other people, getting taken down themselves, and then screaming about, hey, this wasn't deserved. We didn't do anything wrong. See, that's what's happened to Talk Radio or at Talk Radio here. And if you look at a few names, you might well recognize them. We have one Dan Wootton, for example, tied to The Sun or NGN or News Group newspaper, who wrote a specific article that led to a UK trial, and well, you know how that went. You also have Julia Hartley Brewer here that celebrated this stuff, that has gone out time and again, backed the play of Dan Wootton saying, yeah, all of that is deserved. And of course we have the son of a certain justice out there also tied to this brand. Yeah, couldn't happen to better people. And let's talk about this and so much more. So hey there to all you wonderful folks, by the way, man, every day there is something new to point our finger at and laugh at, and this, it's no different. I hope you're having a pleasant afternoon, by the way. I hope 2021 is treating you kindly, and if you would, I would ask you to share this around, to like, to comment, feed that algorithm, get this news out there. Now, irony and personal opinions set aside about specific individuals, I do want to say this to make it perfectly clear. I do not endorse the removal of voices, even voices that I ardently disagree with. I do find it interesting, however, that these are the type of people that would point their finger at someone even if that person says, hey, what you're saying isn't true, and then they go out, something happens to them, someone else points a finger their way. They say that's not true, and they expect someone to actually pay attention, and beyond that, to actually care. So first things first, before we get into who these players are and why exactly this is deliciously ironic, let's talk about what exactly transpired. It comes to us from the pinned tweet of Talk Radio themselves. You can see that lovely, lovely check mark there, and you can see YouTube, a statement from Talk Radio. So you can see this is an official statement from Talk Radio. They actually have their letterhead here, and quote, YouTube has removed Talk Radio's channel from its platform. Talk Radio broadcasts specific programs and a live stream from its studio on its YouTube channel. Talk Radio also broadcasts on digital audio broadcast and is Ofcom regulated. Now, if you're like me, maybe you're not up on the UK and regulatory bodies. Ofcom is a regulator and competition authority for the UK communications industry. It regulates TV, radio sectors, fixed line telecoms, mobiles, postal service, plus the airwaves over which wireless devices operate. Ofcom works with the Department of Digital, Cultural, Media, and Sports, so they're already regulated by an official governing body. Now, continuing with Talk Radio's response, we're still in that pin post, quote, a spokesperson for Talk Radio said, quote, we urgently await a detailed response from Google/YouTube about the nature of the breach that has led to our channel being removed from its platform. Then they bring up Ofcom again, and they bring up the idea of them being regulated again because that's supposed to make everything okay. Quote, Talk Radio is an Ofcom licensed and regulated broadcaster and has robust editorial controls in place, taking care to balance debate. Then they finish up their post by saying this, quote, we regularly interrogate government data and we have controls in place, use verifiable sources, and give space to a careful selection of voices and opinions. Now again, we don't really know the reasoning that this transpired, but I can guess. I figure it's one of two reasons, or maybe a combination of both. It's the way that they covered the beer bug, or it's the way that they covered politics, or again, the combination of the two. I don't agree with that, but I think that's the reality, and I do find a certain irony in this, considering these are people that love pointing their fingers at others. Even if people say, hey, I didn't do anything wrong, they'll still cover it, they'll still hammer it, they still won't listen, and now they have someone pointing their finger at them. They're saying, I didn't do anything wrong, and they expect people to actually listen. Now, as far as this goes, too, I want to make something very, very clear. This isn't just associated with people tied to the brand. This is associated with the brand itself, which you can see in statements like this. You see here, you can see the headline, Johnny Depp has lost his libel case against Dan Wootton in The Sun, and then it had a quote in the middle given from Dan Wootton, which I removed because it talks about that nameless party. It says, this is a victory for all victims of DV, holding this thing aloft. And again, remember, this is the guy that brigaded and brigaded hard. And then it says, hey, why don't you come to our brand, and why don't you watch Dan Wootton live? So again, it's not the employees that are causing this, it is the brand itself. Now, like I said earlier, as far as the people that are involved in this are concerned, there are about 3 people that I could easily point the finger at, and the first one that I want to start with is Dan Wootton. Now, Dan Wootton, like I said, he is tied to the Sun, our news group newspaper, NGN. You can see all their credentials across this. In fact, this is attached to a certain article, and that article, yeah, you're probably familiar with. See, that article, written in 2018, I'm sure you recognize it by now. It leads to litigation. It was aimed at J.K. Rowling, asking her, how can you, J.K. Rowling, be quote-unquote genuinely happy? And then you get the very infamous who and the how. You can see the who here, Johnny Depp. You can see the picture that they added as well. And you can see the redacted descriptor here. It had wife, and then I'm going to say greeter, except it's not greeter, of course. So yeah, it's saying J.K. Rowling, why would you be happy out there, genuinely happy at that, to cast this guy with that descriptor in your film? Now, make no mistake, too, despite the fact that some of his colleagues, which I'll show you in just a moment, say, hey, he was just out there reporting, it went beyond that. It went beyond finger pointing, too. This is an out-and-out call to J.K. Rowling to replace someone on it, and this, I believe, led to a Warner decision that you've seen and very recently. So Warner Brothers releases the Depp-fronted film in November. This was talking about part 2, by the way. While Rowling has an inability to ever admit she made a mistake, it's not too late for a last-minute recast. It would cost millions, but Rowling has the money. I believe it's the only decision that would show that she's a woman of true character and principle, even when her famous friends are involved. Now, as far as Dan Wootton's colleagues are concerned, look at that crossover here. You have them working with Talkradio, sure, but you also have them working with the Sun. So you have a lot of people that have been associated with that branding. Yeah, again, it's really, really hard for me to look at this situation and say, man, that's terrible and tragic. It's happening to you. Quote, my fabulous Talkradio and the Sun colleague Dan Wootton is trending over the Johnny Depp libel trial. Look at how they minimize in this stuff, too. If you're throwing, this is the word abuse, by the way. I cut that out of there. In fact, look at how often they like throwing that in. That statement, it's trying to say quite a bit. But if you're throwing abuse at the man who broke the story about an abusive relationship, rather than the man who did the actual abuse, maybe you should take a long, hard look at yourself. So that's all he did, huh? He just broke his story. He didn't call for other people's jobs. He didn't try to get somebody blackballed in Hollywood. He didn't do that over accusation alone. Hey, well, I guess that clears everything up, right? Or not. This stuff, it transpires over and over again, too. You have Julia Hartley-Brewer congratulating Dan Wootton for that victory. And if you look at the statement that's being shared here, I cut it off a little bit, but I'm going to read this to you. Breaking. Actor Johnny Depp has lost his high court libel action against the Sun newspaper over an article which labeled him a quote-unquote wife beater. Again, you can go out, you can label other people, you can try to take away everything, but if somebody labels you and they try to take away your platform, then it's wrong. Again, either this stuff is right or it's wrong. There is no gray area, and these folks, they love doing that to someone else, but woe be it happening to them. Now, as far as this brand and associating with that case in the Sun, I'm sure we could spend all day picking off people and saying, man, look at that person, this is wrong. But one, they really stick out, and I want to end on them, and that's Robert Palmer. Why is Robert Palmer important, by the way? Because this is the son of one Justice Nickel. Yeah, that's right. The person that decided that NGN, or News Group newspaper, did nothing wrong, that the Sun did nothing wrong, and that Dan Wootton did nothing wrong is Robert Palmer's father. So you have Robert Palmer that is associated with all of those brands. I mean, after all, look at how many times the Sun is mentioned. Look at how many times Dan Wootton comes up in this coverage. But of course, all of that was fair. all of that was legit. There was nothing ugly or nothing insidious going on behind the scenes. Again, when it happens to someone else, it's A-OK. When it happens in the trappings of that, you call it justice and you call it law. But when it happens to a brand that they're associated with, they don't like that at all. It's very interesting how this little thing called canceling other people, sometimes it comes back around and cancels you too. And right before we went live, there was an update, so I have to add this in. Apparently, they've been reinstated. The reason this happened was because of what I thought. This was about the beer bug. They were covering it in a way that the platform didn't like, so the platform had locked them down. Unlike what they do to other people, though, they were actually listened to. And you know what? They won't learn anything from this. That's the thing about all of these places. They don't learn anything about going out and taking someone down. Again, rules for me, but not for thee. If they have someone point that finger at them, they certainly want a chance to speak. But when they're pointing that finger at someone else, oh man, they want to take your life and livelihood away. But anyway, let me know what you think about this stuff. Excuse the rushed end of this too. You know, this was an update. I cut off the end that was there. But yeah, appreciate the heck out of you. You make this stuff possible. Can't say that enough. This is all about you making something happen. So thank you.